Hi guys, David O'Sullivan here, and to mark the release of the third and final instalment in the Maze Runner trilogy, Maze Runner The Death Cure, I thought now would be a really great opportunity to give you my rundown of the top 5 best film adaptations of YA novels. And I've got a couple of disclaimers for this list before I begin. I was thinking of doing a bigger top 10 list and having all different kinds of films in there, but I thought I would narrow it down to a top 5 and make it exclusively franchises, so top 5 best YA franchises, if you will, because there's a lot of great kind of YA films that are just kind of one-shots, they're like one-off films that were just based on one book, the likes of, Bridge of Terabithia, A Monster Calls maybe, The Book Thief, Holes, Hugo. There's a lot of great ones, but I thought I would narrow it down because there was too many ones to choose from, and I feel like it would have been better just to make a shorter, more compact list of doing top 5 YA franchises. So the films on this list are franchises, they weren't just kind of one thing that, was just one standalone film. And also for each of the 5 films on this list, I'm just counting them all as one. So like Hunger Games, for instance, I'm just counting as one. I'm not picking multiple different, films in franchises. I'm just counting each franchise as just one film. So with all that said, let's get this started now with my top 5 best film adaptations of YA novels. And coming in at number 5, this is kind of cheating a bit because it's not really a franchise, but it's a series of unfortunate events. And I thought I'd sneak this on the list at number 5 because I didn't want to put Twilight on here or Divergent or anything else like that. And yes, it's not really a franchise, but it's been more than just one film, because there was a film back in the early 2000s with Jim Carrey, but there's also now a Netflix show, so it's both a film and a TV series, so I guess I can kind of count it as a franchise because it's been both a film and a TV show. It's a property that's been adapted to multiple forms of entertainment. But that being said, I actually haven't seen the Netflix series with Neil Patrick Harris. I think it's supposed to be pretty good, but the early 2000s film with Jim Carrey, I actually really enjoy. I know not a whole lot of people really love this film. A lot of people who are fans of the books, I think, didn't like it because they combined, I think, 3 of the books into one film, and I think a lot of the fans of the books didn't like Jim Carrey because he was too much like Jim Carrey and not much like Count Olaf. But me, as someone who didn't read the books and who wasn't a fan of the books, I actually really enjoyed this movie, and I love Jim Carrey in the role. Maybe he's not as much like Count Olaf as he should be, but at the same time, Jim Carrey just doing his Jim Carrey thing. I just love Jim Carrey in whatever he's in, and I thought he was just so great as Count Olaf. He almost stole the show. He's really great at doing this kind of transformative performances where he kind of turns himself into some wacky, crazy, insane kind of quirky character, like what he did with the Grinch, and then what he did with Count Olaf in this film. And it's just so much fun to watch. He really just steals the show. He steals every scene he's in, and it is kind of like Jim Carrey's film, really. But I just love him. He was so great. But also the young kids as well. I can't remember all their names, but I know the young girl was Emily Browning, I think. She went on to be in films like Sucker Punch and that sort of thing, but I really liked her in this role. I thought she was really great as Violet Beauregard. I can understand maybe why fans of the books wouldn't like it, because they did combine 3 books into one film. It's almost like each of the 3 acts is like a different book, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good fun. It didn't end up becoming a longer series. There were plans for it to be a multiple series of films, and that didn't end up happening, but we have got the TV show now with this rebooted TV series on Netflix with new actors in there, and I think that's probably a little bit more faithful to the books, and it probably does suit a TV show better than a film, because like I said, with the film they tried to cram all these different elements, all these different books into one movie, and it didn't work a whole lot for us, what the fans really wanted. But with a TV show, I think that's a lot more suited to kind of that serialized storytelling, with maybe each episode being a different story and that sort of thing. So yeah, I've yet to check out the TV show, but I really enjoyed that early 2000s movie, and so coming in at number 5 is a series of unfortunate events. And coming in at number 4 is The Maze Runner. Now, I just recently reviewed the last film in the trilogy, Maze Runner The Death Cure, and I actually like this trilogy. They're solid films, and neither of them were amazing, but I think the first one was alright, the second one not so much, but the third one I actually enjoyed. I thought was surprisingly entertaining and a whole lot better than I thought it was going to be. These films are great because they are YA films, but they've almost got like kind of a Lord of the Flies element to them, and also with the third film, it's very much like a dystopian post-apocalyptic film, and I kind of got a soft spot for the Maze Runner films in that sense, because I'm a big fan of dystopian, post-apocalyptic kind of science fiction films, and especially with the third one, it's the most dystopian, science fiction-y out of the lot, and so I've kind of got a soft spot of the franchise because of that. But like I said, the first one, it's almost got like a Lord of the Flies element to it, where it's like Hunger Games meets Lord of the Flies. That was really cool. The second one wasn't all that great, but the third one, like I said, it ended on a surprisingly entertaining, emotional note as well. Not as good as the franchises in my top 3, but still, I think, worthy of a place on my list. Coming in at number 3 is Chronicles of Narnia, and this is another one like Maze Runner where not all 3 of the films have been great. I did really love the first one when it came out. I remember really enjoying that film. The second one I like as well. The third one isn't that great. I don't dislike the third one. I don't hate that film, but it is definitely the weakest of the 3, and I don't think the third one is that great. But I like the first 2 a whole lot, especially the first movie. The first film actually kind of just works really well on its own as like a standalone family kind of Christmas film almost, you know, with the Pevensey children going off into this magical land through the wardrobe, almost like a Wizard of Oz kind of thing, where they get sucked off into this magical world of Narnia. I'm a sucker for big kind of epic fantasy films. I mean, Narnia is nowhere near as good as like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or anything like that. But I did really like that first movie, and like I said, the magical world of Narnia with all these creatures. And also, a lot of people forget, James McAvoy is also in that movie. It's one of the first things I saw James McAvoy in as the Faun, Mr. Tumnus. And yeah, all the acting's really great. Great cast in there. We've got Tilda Swinton as the White Witch. She's really great. It adds a whole lot of gravitas to the film. The series kind of did go a bit downhill, and it kind of ended on a bit of a whimper, and you know, nothing really happened after that third movie. Even though I didn't dislike the third movie, Will Poulter actually pops up. Funny enough, a little kind of connection there between Maze Runner and Narnia is that Will Poulter actually popped up in the third Narnia film first, when he's playing this younger, kind of like bratish little kid in the third film. That's probably one of the first things I saw him in, actually. So yeah, great cast in these Narnia films, really great, fun, family, fantasy, adventure films, but not as good as my top 2. Coming in at number 2 is The Hunger Games. I love the Hunger Games films. This would probably be number 1 if it wasn't for the franchise that is on number 1. I don't really consider the franchise on number 1 a teen franchise, but most of the people do, so I thought, you know, I'll just include it anyway. But Hunger Games are some of my favourite YA films. This is one of the only YA franchises as far as like, you know, like Divergence and that kind of thing is concerned, where I think they're actually really great films, because they're not just really great kind of teen films for kids, but they're also really great films in general. I really liked the first one that came out. I loved the second film, Catching Fire. I think that's by far my favourite. I didn't like the last 2, you know, Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2 as much as the first 2, but I still liked them and I still thought they were good. I think this is one of the most solid, most consistent, most entertaining franchises as far as, you know, YA films are concerned. I really like Jennifer Lawrence in the role as Katniss Everdeen. Again, another franchise with great cast all round. It's another one that has that kind of like revolutionary kind of element with them rebelling against this corrupt dystopian government in this kind of post-apocalyptic America. I really liked how it was started off in that first movie, and how Francis Lawrence, I think, came in with that second film, and I think Catching Fire was just great. That's by far my favourite of the series. They kind of didn't need to split the last one. They did that whole kind of Twilight Harry Potter thing with splitting the last one into 2. I don't think they needed to do that. Harry Potter, they kind of got away with it, but with Hunger Games, it really hurt the films, I think, by stretching them out, splitting them into the 2 films there. They didn't really need to do that. They should have just done Mockingjay as one movie. They didn't need to do Part 1 and Part 2, because it really hurt the films, I think, by splitting them into 2 and trying to stretch them out into 2 feature-length films. I don't think they need to do that. But that being said, I really like the Hunger Games franchise. I would not be upset if they did some kind of spin-off or some kind of prequel. I really like these films, and I was sad to see it end, but I really enjoyed it while it lasted, and I think it's one of the best YA franchises we've ever had. And coming in at number 1, like I said, I don't really see this as a YA teen franchise, but most other people do, and the books they're based on are books for young adults. So coming in at number 1 is Harry Potter, and I suppose you can only really count from the 4th one onwards, because, you know, in the first few, they're kids, and this is why I don't really count. I know I'm kind of like, you know, going against what I've actually done here, but I don't really count Harry Potter as a YA franchise. I don't really count them as teen films, because in the first few films, they're not even teenagers. They're like 11 in the first one. But then I suppose from Goblet of Fire onwards, they are teenagers, and they are films that are based on books for young adults, and they are like stories about teenagers in school. So I kind of guess you can count them as teen films, as YA films. I count them as more family films, but for the sake of argument, I'm going to count them on the list, because to be honest with you, if I didn't put Harry Potter on the list, I would have struggled to find another franchise to put on this top 5. So coming in at number 1 is Harry Potter. This is not only my favourite YA franchise, it's one of my favourite franchises in general. It's probably one of my top 5 favourite franchises of all time. I love Harry Potter. I grew up with Harry Potter. It's got a very special place in my heart, because, you know, I was, you know, very young when I watched the first 2 as a kid, and then Prisoner of Azkaban, that 3rd film, that was the one that really, I really fell in love with Harry Potter, because it was like dark and I was like edgy, and I was like, okay, this is really cool, you know, because I liked the first 2, but I was like, yeah, alright, and then the 3rd one came around, I was like, oh, I like this. And it kind of got darker as they went on, and as I got older as well. I grew up with this franchise, I grew up with these characters, and I think it's one of the most consistent franchises, like, ever. I mean, even if you count Fantastic Beasts, we're like, what, 8, 9 films into this? There's not been a bad one yet. I'm not the biggest fan of Deathly Hallows Part 1. I don't think that film was that great. That's probably, for me, the worst one of the bunch, because, you know, like I said, with the Hunger Games thing again, splitting the last book into 2, the very final film was great. I think that's probably my second favourite below Prisoner of Azkaban, but Part 1, that film for me is just kind of really pointless and unnecessary. All you need to know is that they destroy a Horcrux. That's it. And you can just skip that film and go straight to Part 2. A lot of that film was just them wandering around the woods, not doing anything, and they finally get to destroy the Horcrux at the end, and Voldemort is kind of barely in the movie. But anyway, I really love Harry Potter, and even Deathly Hallows Part 1 I still like. I still think it's a good film, and like I said, all of the movies have been good, which is kind of insane. Like, what other franchises are like 7, 8, 9 films into it, and there's not been a bad one yet? They've all been really great. I love all the Harry Potter movies. It would be really hard for me to rank them, because I think they're all fantastic films. Prisoner of Azkaban and Deathly Hallows Part 2 are my favourites, I think. Harry Potter, one of my favourite franchises. I'm always going to love these films. They're very close to me. They hold a very special place in my heart. And I think they're just really great movies. And they just happen to feature kids in school. So yeah, coming in at number 1, it's Harry Potter. And there we have it. That wraps up my top 5 best film adaptations of YA novels. My top 5 YA franchises, if you will. What do you think about my list? Were there some other franchises that you would put in there? Are you a big fan of the Divergent series or the Twilight series maybe? To be fair, I don't hate the first Twilight film. I think the first one's alright. I just don't like any of the others. But that being said, what are your favourite YA films or your favourite YA franchises? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you like this and you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to see more. If you missed my last review, be sure to go and click over here to catch up on my last review, or perhaps down here to catch up on all my recent videos. But with that said, I've been David O'Sullivan. I'll see you next time.